Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hi guys, it's Nicole Brajer here with AFTERBUZZ TV Mob Wives. We are on episode 8 on season 5. This episode was called the Staten Island Sea Hags, of course, if you didn't hear it throughout the episode. Once again, I am riding solo tonight. I miss my girls that they couldn't be here, but we should all finally be back together for next week's episode. So tune in and please chat with me. You can chat live at AfterBuzzTV.com. Be sure to hashtag ABTV Mob Wives. It's our new hashtag. That way you can get in on the conversation. Follow along. I'm also here. I've got my laptop, so you can feel free to tweet me while we're recapping this episode. A bunch of you guys gave me some crazy feedback on YouTube last week, and I appreciate it, being that I was solo and it was my first solo show. One of you guys mentioned that it seemed a little bit one-sided, and that's because I was here hosting the show by myself. So that my producer's laughing. That's probably why it seemed a little one-sided. But, you know, just feedback with me. Follow along. I love it. Good, bad, negative, positive. It doesn't matter. It keeps the conversation going and very entertaining, just like the Mob Wives are. So let's get down to this episode. And, you know, we finished off with the bloodshed finally from last week. We've all been anticipating it. I think secretly all of us were wanting a little bit of a fight because it's just been in talk, you know, for the last 6 episodes before last week's brawl. And now, you know, we're at episode 8. The fight was brief. It was short. I predicted last week that it was going to go on a little bit more. But as we saw when the episode opened up, it kind of ended. And none of them seemed to really want it to end, except, in my opinion, Nat G and probably Big Ange, because Big Ange kind of sides with Nat G as we see that play out even in this episode. And it just seems like when we get to the first scene of this Mob Wives episode, that Nat G wasn't there to fight. And I have to say that I agree that she didn't really go in for a fight. Now, there was a comment that I'll get to a little bit later that perhaps she did inevitably want to provoke Karen, and always in the back of her mind was ready for a fight. But I do believe that she did go sit down in respect to Big Ange, just to hopefully settle the controversy, the Twitter war, if you will. So, hey, Natalie G fans, I just stuck up for Nat G, and I did weigh out her good and bad. You know, as a whole, Nat G plays a big role in this season of Mob Wives, and without her and her personality and who she is, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about what's been going down this season. So props to Nat G for stirring the pot, if you will. So let's dive right in. We see that we open up with London and Nat G, and she's having a vodka cranberry, it seems. She's still got a scar on her face. She got into her pajamas back on the couch, and London comes home all amped up from the gym, and she goes, have a drink with me, because she wants him to know what went down for the talk that turned into an epic brawl. And London takes Natalie's side on this one. We don't really see him fight her back. I do think she's right. Karen does come at her, pull her hair, gets down and dirty with her. She says she was there for a conversation. She believes Karen was there for a fight. I mean, I believe that Karen was there to put Natalie in her place. And a lot of you disagree that Karen didn't put her in her place with that fight, that Natalie's the one that kind of had the reins in the fight. And I don't know. I think it was an even fight. I think it didn't end. So how can we all be so sure as to who really won? You know, I think it has to play out a little bit more. But, you know, words can be more aggressive than pulling hair and scratching the face. I mean, but I think that's why Karen flipped the table and went right at her, because she was playing the cool, laid back, I don't really give two shits demeanor. And that's why Karen snapped. And we'll get again to the point that I mentioned about how Drita says, you know, she thinks that Natalie G was feeding the fire within Karen, and thus all hell broke loose. So getting back to the first scene, Nat G then takes us all on a little bit of a surprise. And I guess once we find out later in the episode that she took what Renee said in the wrong way by Renee letting her know to ring her bell. But, you know, we'll get to that in a little bit. And then, of course, Nat G finishes that Karen is ghetto and rat shit. And I was getting so confused. She was saying ratchet or rat shit. And either way, pun intended or not, she has her point about Karen from day one about being a rat. But I stand by that Karen's father's the rat, not Karen. But Karen does go later into this episode showing us that she's proud to be ghetto. And my producer's nodding her head. She's like, now these girls, they like to be gangsters. That's why they're mob wives.
I mean, it makes sense.
So for one of them to call the other one a wannabe and a gangster, isn't that a little silly when that's what their claim to fame is?
Well, do they actually sit there and
say that's gangsta?
Yeah, like,
yes.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it's more of just reminding, I guess, the viewers, like, hey, I'm so badass, you know, just deal with it, I guess. I mean, that's what I'm getting from it, because I've seen a couple episodes. I'm sorry, fans, if you guys are like, oh, why are you putting her on the mic? I just feel that it's just kind of redundant to call each other, like, you know, oh, you're so gangster. We know you're a mob wife. We get it.
Yeah, and they call themselves gangsters. So I don't see where an insult lies in that comment for her.
It really isn't. It's just literally stating the obvious,
right?
I feel. But, I mean, you know, whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah, so I get the rat. The rat is the insult. But calling her a wannabe gangster, calling her ghetto, I just don't think that's the best insult for somebody that wants to open up a marijuana shop and call it KG Gangsta OG or whatever. Wow. But we'll get to that, because so much was talked about this episode. There was so much that we learned about each of them individually, and they started to show a little bit more of their true colors outside of their tough skin, and we'll get to it. So speaking of that, we go to Renee, and Renee gets the letter from Junior. She finds it in AJ's room that he wrote to AJ, and she freaks out basically to her friend on the phone because he's telling AJ of his crimes, says he's charged for armed robberies and a murder charge. And she's just so upset that he had to reach out to AJ and let him know all this. Now, I mean, I think AJ's been aware that his father is a rat and a horrible criminal and, you know, the bad person that his mother has let him know every single day. But I don't know. Do you think that your son is entitled to receive a letter from his dad in jail if he
Yeah, of course. I mean, I remember, I mean, I've heard you guys talk about this story so many times this season, and I just feel like I think it's getting kind of old. I mean, I understand what they're trying to do, but I feel like, okay, enough is enough. You know, I feel like
that's what a lot of feedback is.
Yeah, it's like you're beating, you know, a dead horse. Like it's over. I feel like we need to move on and either find something new to talk about or just leave this poor boy alone.
Yeah, and you know, we'll get to when she approaches AJ, her son, about the letter. But all she says on the phone with her friend is that there's two ways this could go. He could be back on the streets, and she's terrified of that, which I completely sympathize with Renee, because why would you always want to be looking over your shoulder, worrying and wondering for the rest of your life when that was half of your life? I mean, so many problems have resulted to her health because of this. So, and she wants him to drop dead because he could be free on the street, and she's just over it. So, and we'll get to, you know, when we find out what the true sentencing is and how I feel about that. And then we'll go over to Drita and how Drita is letting us in with her family that she finally thinks that Natalie G isn't the best and is weaning off her side and siding with Karen and Renee, which I feel that most of you Mob Wife OG, you know, your original gangsta fans, see, gangsta, it's no insult. That's what they want. They love it.
Keep into the theme here.
Yeah,
huh?
I think most of you guys would probably be happy that Drita is not siding with Natalie G, but you know, you Natalie G fans, you probably think that Drita is being blinded by Nat D and the quote unquote stupidity of Karen and Renee. But you know, when Drita's buttons get pushed and Drita hits a breaking point, there's no going back, and that's what we love about Drita. I mean, there's a lot of you tweeting right now. You're saying that you're happy that Drita's finally realizing it. And that she does mention that she didn't want to be the referee of the fight in the previous episode that we left off with to open up this episode tonight. And I think it's funny because she did act like a little bit of a ref. She kept saying this isn't over, and she wanted to almost like chime in because she was so angry. And she did mention to us in this scene that this fight is affecting her more than probably it is everybody else. But, you know, so she again mentions that she believes Nachi wanted to fight Karen and push Karen's buttons, which riled her up. I don't find that not hard to believe. But again, I do think Natalie G did want to sit down and try to have a talk. She wasn't really dressed for a fight. And she has her kids come in the scene, very cute, and discussing her business, and she's going to have another party, which right when she said that, I'm like, okay, that's just going to lead to another fight, something else about to happen. So that kind of got me excited, believe it or not. And then we see Nat D and Karen meet up in the next scene, and Karen goes off about Nat G and what happened and her attitude in particular and her demeanor when she sat down for the talk/fight. Now, that would make me mad if somebody knew how I felt going into a conversation, how pissed off I truly was, and how many buttons she already pushed, and then to sit down and kind of like not give, you know, 2 Fs and just sit back with a cool demeanor. That would enrage me too. So I do see why Karen flipped her lid, but again, I don't know. This is a tough call how this fight escalated, because us fans and everybody wants to see some kind of bloodshed with the Mob Wives, and these Mob Wives go back and forth all the time with how they feel, no family, then you're dropping family and you're dropping rat and this, that, so back and forth with them that we knew something was going to happen between Nachi and Karen, and for Big Ange to just wanted to like wipe the slate clean and hope that they could do that, there's no way in the back of all their minds that they thought that it was going to be peaceful. So they almost set up what happened at the last episode at the beginning of this. They set up the fight. There's if you want to disagree with me, write or tweet me, right on the YouTube page. But these women set up that fight knowing all too well that they were going to pull at each other's hair. I mean, let's be real. So moving forward, they say how the argument was a little bit elementary, which it was. Again, back and forth. You started it. No, you started it. You started it. Some of you were commenting saying who really started it. Oh, and you referred to last season with Renee and the delicious comment, which I can agree with a little bit. Like there was a little bit of Renee was out of whack for a while, and that could very well be the reason why we're seeing Nat G reach out to Renee now, because there was 2 sides of the story between Nat G and Renee. So, you know, Karen getting into the picture, that's separate. That's a whole separate issue. But when it's Karen and Renee, and that's, you know, one and the other's girl, they're going to have each other's back. And that's why I kind of like that Drita is heading towards the other side too, but that's just me. So Nachi thinks she had a right to then go ahead and kind of get in on the fight with Karen. And Karen says that Drita and Ange held back and should have mediated the fight, which I don't think they were there to do. Again, I think they were there to kind of, believe it or not, also stir a pot to a certain extent, because they, I think Big Ange more than Drita wanted it to kind of be a problem solved in communication, but Drita had to know, and Renee and Karen sure knew that they were gonna fight and there was gonna be blood. So Nat D, in this conversation with Karen, says that Nat G talks on all of them. Now she calls Natalie D's boyfriend again and he puts the phone on speaker so Nat D can hear, and Nat G, talks on all the girls, and Nat D, reiterates that she heard it all. This story, I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I do see how Nat D can be another pot stirrer, but I don't see why. I mean, this girl did come out of left field for certain reasons, but then again, she was involved in the fashion show with Drita's company. She found her way in, and Nat G, I think, was brought up by Drita first, if I'm correct. So obviously the producers probably knew going into this that Nat D, being from Philly, was going to have some sort of association with Nat G. So what a perfect way to, make this season even more fire than Nat G already does. You have the same names and rhyming initials of your last name. I mean, this is going to make the show ratings go up. More people are going to watch. More people are going to have opinions on Nat G and Nat D. And why not add this girl? Mob relation or not, she helps the conversation. And we do know that she does actually factually have mob relations. So, I have friends in Philly. I have friends in Jersey. I have friends in Staten Island. And even though they're all living in the tri-state area, they all sort of have some kind of beef with each other because these are very power rating areas. Do you agree? When you meet girls from these cities,
I have friends from these cities, and they are exactly the same way. Like, everybody just needs to one-up each other, and I'm just like, guys, we're sitting here having lunch at the Cheesecake Factory.
I love it.
Let's simmer down. And they're just like, oh, who are you? And I'm like, oh my God, relax. Like, we're just having lunch. I don't understand. So I mean, I totally get it.
It's that like white girl power that they use.
Something. I don't know.
It's crazy, but that's the type of personality they have. That's how they were raised. That's where they grew up. Maybe their families too, being in the mob. The mobsters always one-upping each other too, at a certain extent, in the sketchiest of ways.
I mean, it makes sense because, I mean, I would feel like growing up in that kind of lifestyle, you kind of have to be kind of cold-hearted and, that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that, like, oh, yeah, you guys are all, you guys are all bees and you guys, are terrible people. No, you're not. You're tough cookies.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But at the same time, there's a time and place to bring out drama.
Yep.
And if you,
Well, they do it in
they do it
the nicest
everywhere.
of restaurants.
Yes. And you're just like, no, don't do that.
Most exclusive of clubs. That's just where they like to take it on. So, we hear the sea hag comment, hence the title of this episode. I mean, I thought this episode was going to be something about gangsters or something, but the Staten Island sea hag thing, I guess makes sense.
I didn't even know people still call other people.
Oh yeah,
sea hags,
I was just talking to my friend from Long Island on the phone the other day. I'm like, well, some of them are popular on Long Island. She's like, well, if I was ever on Staten Island, forget it, I would get attacked. So they Yeah, they have this thing. These girls. I mean, I growing up, in New Jersey, going to school on Long Island, I've seen the way girls on Long Island act compared to girls in Staten Island. Okay. Even the girls in Manhattan versus the girls from Philly, and it is a lot of like power.
Yeah, because I mean, I've noticed it. Because I had my ex-girlfriend was from Philly, and then and then her best friend was from, which is crazy, was from Long Island, and they always looked like they hated each other, but they actually had a good friendship. But if when they had people come over, it was like, I felt like everybody was arguing. It was crazy.
Power hungry bitches.
Amen.
So moving on, we will get into Karen and Storm, and they go on the water, and you think they're going to have this beautiful talk about their relationship, coming from, you know, the problems they had, mending their ways. And then she brings up that she wants to be in the medical marijuana business. Now, this is a woman coming from the mob, all eyes on her at all times, and wants to open up a dispensary in Arizona. I mean, when she said that, I had the same reaction as her mother did, which we'll get to, but it's like, you know, what are you trying to do? You're trying to like get even more deep and more trouble than you have been in your life. You're saying you want to revamp your life and start over, and I don't think that's the best way to start over. I understand that medical marijuana is legal, but opening up a dispensary is a whole nother thing. I mean, even here in LA, like I've seen companies and dispensaries open one day and in a month they're gone because it's a very risky business. Despite the fact that it's legal, illegal things can happen within a marijuana dispensary because you're selling marijuana. Let's be real. You could start selling other drugs in that dispensary. And Karen has had, and she admits, illegal drug business when she was younger. And we see the actual court footage, in this episode. I mean, it's pretty amazing that now she wants to open up a dispensary and thinks of a title, Gangsta Green, which brings me back to my gangster point again.
I'm sorry, I thought that was kind of brilliant, but at the same time, I feel like that's like a huge red flag.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, most places like here in California, it's just the leaf or just like, just, you know,
the cross sign.
Little cross sign or something like that. But that, I feel like that's just a giant sign that's just like, hey, I sell marijuana and I used to be in the mob. Yeah. Woohoo! You know?
No, definitely not a good idea for Karen.
I agree.
Gotta say. But, you know, she also kind of proves my point again about the gangsta thing. She's proud to be a gangsta. And one of you guys wrote how you thought it was funny that she made the Snoop Dogg comment saying that her boyfriend is the Snoop Dogg of the East Coast. Now, that's a little ridiculous. I feel I think Snoop Dogg would be very upset by that comment.
No,
because
he'd probably think that'd be really funny.
You think it would be funny?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I laughed. But then I thought, oh, God, I feel like if Snoop Dogg saw this dude, he would be like, oh, come on.
Never know.
I mean, granted, Storm is this huge dude and Snoop Dogg's this skinny dude. I mean, compare the success rate of Snoop Dogg and Storm. That's why I thought maybe he would be a little offended. But either way, yeah, it was pretty funny. So, yeah, we'll get to that when a little bit more when we talk about how Karen goes to Arizona to see her family, and then she brings it up again. So we'll just move to when Drita visits Nat D at the boxing ring, and Drita says she's never seen so many people hate on Nat G. Now, I mean, us as the audience see it, and I think now Drita's starting to realize a little bit more and starting to side more with the, you know, the greater end. The more that people that hate, the more you're going to kind of coincide with somebody. But with Big Ange, it seems like she will always have her opinion and never let anybody really sway it. So, and we'll get to that at the end. But Nat D tells her about her boxing experience and how she's been knocked out before, and then she got back up and fought and met with the same person who knocked her out a couple months later. And Drita loves it. She's ear to ear smiling because that's the kind of girl that Drita likes. And I kind of chuckled and smiled too in a sense because there's no denying that. I mean, Drita likes someone that's straight up, admits when they're wrong, will, you know, do anything to fix it. And I don't think Natalie G is that kind of person. That's my opinion. And I think that's why we're seeing Drita sort of sway away from her. She's also believing, again, what the big crowd says. So she's going to kind of go with the pact on this one. But I'm not implying here that Drita's a follower because I think Drita's a leader. I just think Drita's had it and she's going to go with how she feels at this point. And again, what's the greater end? So she wants to set the story straight, bottom line. And Nat D, says that, again, repeats the C-Hag comment. And Drita just has had it. She's ready to go. She's ready to call out Nat G for her mistakes and ready to get Big Ange in on what Nat D is saying. And we will discuss that at the end. And she also had her doubts that she was referring to Drita and Ange when Nat G said that comment, which we won't know the truth. None of us are going to know because there was no camera on Nat D when she got that call with her boyfriend. And I just see that's another thing. I'm just finding it very weird that Nat G, knowing how much Nat D does not like her, is calling Nat D's ex. I mean, I find that fishy. That's why I'm thrown a little bit. It's hard to believe, but with all the talk, I see why Drita's swinging away. So Karen then meets with Renee to shop, and she's with her girlfriend, and she just kind of dives right into this reveal of Junior's sentencing, which is 11 years. And she feels some peace in the situation. She needs to sit down, and the first thing she says that she's concerned about AJ. I mean, who wouldn't be? That's her son. And but then again, you know, as we just discussed, I mean, her son. This is deja vu for her son. It's not the first time that his dad was facing trial or charges and this and that. I mean, I just don't get why Renee beats herself up so much about it. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not important, because how many episodes have we talked about this now? Because I feel like the more that I've been like engineering and watching, I feel like it's the same story over and over and over. So I don't know if that's like the producers telling them to be like, hey, milk it till it's dry kind of thing, or if it's actually like a problem that she's like.
Oh, she's got a problem.
Really?
Yeah, and we got her on the phone, and she did let us know that this is really taking a toll on her, and that she's starting.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there was some sort of maybe regret, but I mean, she did also say, I'm someone that doesn't regret things, but at the same time, you know, this Mob Wives in general is taking a toll on her health and her psychological well-being. So I mean, but that will always go back to Junior, and I am happy that he has got 11 years. She can move on with her life. She could focus on herself. She will always baby her son. I believe that. But she also is entitled to, because her son is in a really sticky situation. He's, you know, comes from a destructive family, and he does need paying attention to, despite the fact that he's an adult.
I mean, I feel like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you're in some sort of situation and the only person that can, like, that you can bring in close is your mother or whoever, then let them baby you for a little bit longer. I mean, that's just, it just helps. And, you know, I know there will probably be a lot of people who disagree with me, but I mean, that's just my opinion. I feel like it would help AJ out.
Yeah. I hope to see a little bit more of how AJ plays out as this season ends. Some kind of success story. And he's got a good girlfriend, so that's always good. The girl kind of always helps the sinking man. That's my opinion. So finally, we see Karen go to Arizona to her brother Gerard's restaurant, and he is just opening it. That's pretty cool. It's got some family success despite the reputation, and they talk about basically getting to the medical marijuana dispensary. And before that, we see Karen talk a little bit about her mom and how her mom has always stuck by the mob family despite the BS. She was always that's a real mob wife to me. The moms of these women are the real mob wives. Unfortunately, they're too old and too bent out of shape to do this. And, you know, as a result, we see their adult daughters scratching their eyes out. And
I just feel like the older mob wives, they just know how to like handle their stuff. I feel like
because they've handled the actual real shit.
Yeah,
these women, excuse my language, are handling the shit end of the stick.
Like I feel like it's more like they're whining and complaining. I feel like if you're gonna be a mob wife, you kind of just shut up and just
some of them want to carry on their legacy, and that's gonna bite them in the butt. But that's how they, again, like we could go back to, that's how they were raised. But I don't know, some of these women really do need to take a step back because they don't want to ruin their kids' lives. And I know none of them do. They admit it all the time. They want to raise them right. But again, Karen opening up a medical marijuana dispensary might not be the best way to move along with her life. And her mom says that she's crazy. There will be people all over her if she does that. And then they refer back to how Karen's dad, back in the day, Salvatore, he took the heat for when she and her brother used to sell ecstasy. Now, see, with that, being in the back of your life and in your past, you don't want to open up a medical marijuana dispensary because right away they're going to think that you're selling other drugs in it. And even though you're selling some legal drugs, you could easily put the illegal shit in the back and bring it out whenever is necessary. And excuse my language, I'm getting really dirty Jersey on you guys right now.
Let it out. Let it out.
I thought that was really interesting, though. It really made me think, wow, you know, as much as Karen can be dramatic and we could disagree with her or be Team Natalie or Team Karen in the end, I mean, she's got a story to tell and she is real. I mean, there's no fake anything when it comes to Karen. I mean, she is straight up. She comes from a family that has been through it all, and she's not afraid to ever talk about it or admit that she wants to be a gangster, that she's a straight up G. So then we see Renee talk to AJ about his dad's sentencing. Oh, I can't even talk tonight. Sentencing. And, you know, all AJ says is his dad hasn't been there and he's used to it. And I agree with AJ. Drop it. Let's move on. Let's rebuild. Let's get AJ like up on his feet so that he doesn't wind up like his dad, instead of constantly reminding him that this is his life and she's so sorry. You know, when your mom is so sorry about something that she can't control and you're like, Mom, like it's sad. And for a kid to see their mother going through that pain, like that they can't get over even before they were born, it hurts the kid. So take care of yourself so you could take care of him. And I know Renee's been through a lot and she's been trying to do that. So, you know, she believes it was a good call in his sentencing. AJ thought that his dad was going to get out. Luckily, for her family's sake, he's in there for another 11 years. And she breaks down and we feel for her, but she's got to move on and she's got to be strong. So then we get to the magazine party and Drita says that she invited everybody. So I'm anticipating that every single one of these mob wives are going to show up for this event. And all of them do except Nat G. And Big Ange just doesn't want to even go there. Immediately they bring up Nat G. And listen, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm over it. Let's move on. Because some of you are tweeting and you're saying this episode was kind of slow. I agree. I mean, and someone mentions that Big Ange honestly makes a ton of sense about everybody attacking Natalie. And she has a point. I mean, they're constantly going on and on. Let's cut to the chase. Let's see how well they can use their words and really figure out maybe the truth or squash it and get rid of the garbage and move on as the unit of mob wives they are. I mean, I'm not calling that G garbage. I'm just saying if all of them want to team up, that's what they're going to do. If Big Ange wants to go her separate way from them until they cool off about the Nat G thing, then that's good. Good for Big Ange. I mean, she's tired of the drama and she wants it to stop. So Drita's just over it, though. We can see that. She can't keep defending her. She doesn't want to be her lawyer. And then all of a sudden, bing, we see that Nat G texts Renee. And she's looking for a conversation and rang her bell, and Renee just kind of flips out. And we see a flashback that Renee said she should have done that, didn't mean now. And then Nat D shows up, and Big Ed is just like, who is this girl? And I'm seeing some of you retweeting what Nat G posted, these pictures of Natalie D saying that she's gross, she's a nobody. And, you know, she's not a nobody. She's affiliated with the mob, and she's a new cast member on Mob Wives. She has a point of being on the show. She's there to bring out either A, the truth about Natalie G, or B, yes, like Big Ange is saying, stir the pot and get some more of us talking about what is really the truth. And is it Team Nat G or Team Nat D or Team Karen, Team Nat G, whatever it may be. But maybe it's going to come down to just Team G or D, because I'm hoping that Karen really just moves past what Nat G has done to her, because they don't really have a history. Renee and Nat G do, and that's why we see Big Ange say that she's trying to resolve with Renee, and she might miss Renee. And because they did, like some of you have spoken to me in the last YouTube video, that they did have a history. They were friends. They did use together a little bit at one point, use and abuse, if you will. And sure enough, that kind of ended because maybe it wasn't the right two people having a friendship. But we'll see. We'll see if they can mend their ways. We see it in the preview that they do meet up, and I'm excited to see what happens next week. My prediction is that maybe Nat G could come on top. Who really knows? We'll have to find out. And then we'll just wrap it up with, we end this episode with Big Ange is done. She doesn't want to discuss Nat G anymore. She doesn't really feel Nat D, and it's pretty intimidating to see how well Big Ange stands her ground. But I'm kind of glad that Drita's moved over with her girls and is siding with them, because after all, Drita doesn't like to be talked about, and she will throw the first punch. So tune in next week. We'll see what happens. This episode was a lot of chit chat, a lot of discovering about who these women are individually, and you know, a lot of more family problems were kind of sprung up this episode. I really enjoyed the flashbacks, meeting Karen's family. And again, if you guys don't know, my name is Nicole Brajer. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Nicole Brajer. It's right below me, I think. And again, you hashtag ABTV Mob Wives to join in on the conversation. I look forward to next week and having some people here to talk to, but I thank you to my lovely engineer for continuing to help me out the conversation tonight.
Anytime.
Thanks so much. And tune in for next week. Again, my name is Nicole Brajer, and you just tuned in to AfterBuzz TV Mob Wives. Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, gangsters.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.